For a long time it has been no secret that our humanity has been controlled. The discussion that takes place today is whether this control is given by a small group or by several groups together. In the end the goal is the same. We manipulate ourselves and remain in absolute ignorance. This is wide open when it comes to important archaeological discoveries, especially those that could change the course of humanity. Like the story I'm going to tell you, which is more like a sci-fi script, but your characters were as real as you and me. And how smart you are, you know this is only a small part of everything that happens. Therefore, its dissemination is vital. This brings us to the year 2003 in Romania, specifically, to a mountain known as Mount Buceji. There, they discovered a series of extraordinary things that would change the destiny of humanity, but which were sadly hidden from the world. It was only after several years that some of this information was revealed by César Brad, an important person in the country. He was a witness to all the events from the beginning, because he was the right hand of the protagonist of this story. He coordinated a top-secret department, totally independent from the Romanian government, called Departamento Zero. It was created by Nicolae Ceausescu, who, obsessed with people with special powers, decided to bring together the great minds of the field of parapsychology, to improve his skills and use them for the benefit of his country. But in Romania a very special child was born, whose umbilical cord surprised doctors because it was disproportionately large. That boy was called César Brad, and for years he was closely watched by Ceausescu. When he was 10 years old, he convinced the family to take the boy, because he would have a better structure with many specialists. With this, he could enhance the paranormal abilities that he had had since his birth. As a child, his abilities soon caught the eye, as César meditated, but he reached the levels of Buddhist monks, who practiced putting all his life down. He saw the subtle worlds that normal people didn't even think existed. This is how he directed the Zero department of the Romanian intelligence service, in which he would be involved in a sensitive issue of great global importance. And in May of 2003 they told César that he would receive an important visit, for a matter of national interest. He was a tall, arrogant man with a hard expression and cold eyes. He got out of the helicopter wearing a black suit and a gold cane. He introduced himself as Mr. Masini, a member of the Venice Club, one of the arms of the Bilderberg Club. Some agents speculated that the mystery man was the Belgian Etienne Davignon, president of the Bilderberg Group. During the conversation, Senior Masini addressed César directly. He said that the Bilderberg Club were simple facades, praised his skills and invited him in, that this is how his life could be. Then Masini reported that a year earlier, a Pentagon spy satellite using bionic technology had discovered a hole in an area of Mount Buceji. It was lower and more in the center, between the Sphinx and some strange rock formations called Babel. It is said that this is the oldest Sphinx in the world, and that more than 2,000 years ago it was a spiritual symbol of the enigmatic Dacians, peoples that inhabited the area. The satellites did not detect any entrance leading to a hole, which began directly inside the mountain. However, it revealed two important energy barriers. They were two separation structures made with artificial energy. The first was like a wall blocking access to the tunnel. The second much larger, like a sphere located at the end of the tunnel, near the center of the mountain. After explaining, he asked César for help, who initially resisted, but both he and his country were threatened. The situation would get worse because he too declined the invitation to join the Bilderberg Club. Later, 200 American soldiers, using high technology, built a tunnel straight to the entrance. It was like a subway station, with polished walls leading to the enigmatic passage discovered by the satellite. In the end, they found a large door 10 meters high. However, before accessing the door, they had to break through a large energy barrier. 3 brave men tried and fell. Stones, metals, wood were thrown, but when they collided everything turned to dust. Curiously, César in that situation, began to meditate, when he realized that the energy was alive. By interacting with the energy, the door opened. In front of them was a gigantic gallery about 30 feet high, and the first thing they all thought was that it was made for giants. Curiously near the hill, the peasants who planted apple trees found they brought about 80 giant skeletons, measuring between 5 and 10 meters. meters high. When the men entered the Great Gallery, they were stunned. Ahead was an unknown and highly advanced technology. Big months with screens, like a library that showed the history of the world and subjects like physics, cosmology, astronomy and architecture. The strangest thing was the lighting without any point of light. It was as if the air itself emitted luminosity. The walls seemed to have life, they moved showing different colors. Then all of a sudden they got a call and everyone was mobilized. Apparently, the moment they opened the protective barrier, something happened in Iraq. They already knew that it was another base similar to Buceji. Back in Iraq, the base's energy shield activated and began to vibrate at a very high frequency. In front of the shield, a hologram of the Earth appeared, drawing the European map, then the mountains of Buceji, Romania, until the gallery was shown. It was clear that Buceji and Iraq were directly connected. Coincidentally, in Iraq, they found a stargate below the ziggurat, 50 miles southwest of Baghdad. The funny thing is that it was connected directly to the base of Mount Buceji. This leads us to think that perhaps there was another reason, which prompted the war in Iraq to begin in 2003. Something very different, and most importantly they publicized it. In addition, in the Museum of Iraq some tablets that narrated how the ancient Sumerians interacted with the so-called gods disappeared. William Henry, an independent archaeologist, had access before the loot. He said that they described scenes from a ritual in Uruk, where it was detailed how divine beings came to our world through a ring-shaped object. And he showed how Anu, the supreme god of the Anunnaki, used this portal. Another important reason was to take control of the portal near the city of Baghdad. The event that occurred in Iraq, the one that broke the energy barrier in Buceji, was communicated to the President of the United States. Everything indicated that a secret investigation was being carried out, both by the government of Romania and the United States. However, when President George Buceji contacted the President of Romania, everything became clear. He had no idea what was going on and immediately wanted to make the discovery public, because he considered it something that could change the world. But it was threatened with an economic blockade. To compensate, they offered to modernize the structures of Romania and that the country would be part of NATO. Even the Pope offered some documents of great importance for Romania. Of course, they agreed, and after that they were able to publish the story, but 10 years later. That is why, in 2013, we got to know part of this story. But, have no doubt that it is only a part, because many things were not revealed. As there are important people involved and, far from diabolical interests, in the coming years we will have access. Native peasants say that on Mount Buceji there is an energy pyramid, which can be seen twice a year. Your mission is to protect and keep the knowledge of the truth safe. And we hope this will be revealed very soon.